My name is Borne. I'm one of the two men from Two Men Bagel House. This project that I've been working on together with my team is called Borne and Bread. It's where we feature different food and beverage business owners. So I sit down and break bread with them, getting into their minds and talking about the ins and outs of what is it like being in the industry. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Welcome back to another episode of Borne and Bread. And today we're joined by this special person. I'd like everybody to know this guy, but I think everybody already know him. This guy, Mr. JP, he's my mentor. I consider him my mentor. I consider him somebody I look up to. The things he's done, so good for the scene. Things that he's done include setting up Kilo Collective, GT, also known as Grain Traders, and now Raw Kitchen Bar again. Everybody, I present Mr. Javier Perez.
What's up, everybody?
What's up?
How you feeling? That's very kind of you. You know what I'm saying? Oh.
Yeah, man.
You know, I don't know if I deserve the mentor label, but
I've always looked up to you, dude. Like,
that's because I'm taller than you, though.
Besides that, like, I feel like whatever he's done for the scene, it's more than what I've mentioned. I think like there's a lot more like what he's done underground, under the radar. But yeah, I just want to pay a lot of respect to what he's done. Kes la ke? Is that how I say it? Kes la ke? What up, bro?
Kes la ke?
Kes la ke? What's up, brother? Peace, man.
Peace.
Yeah, so today we're actually talking about something not too intense. I want to take a little trip back down memory lane to understand how was it like growing up.
Grew up in a family of women. Never knew my biological father. So my mother raised me alongside three pretty incredible individual women. She had three sisters, and of course my grandparents.
Right.
So our family till this day, they're extremely close. They're always kind of in the same place. I mean, I'll share with you, out of the four of them, three of them live in Florida. They lived in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now they've all migrated to an area called Clearwater or St. Petersburg in Florida. So they've always been very tight knit. And so, you know, it's something that unfortunately, with me moving out to Europe and then to Asia, I've missed out on a lot of that. Okay. Because I've been gone for 16 years now. Okay. Right. So, but my mom makes it down every.
Yeah, I met your mom, man. She's cool.
Every so often, and so you know, she's dying to be here now. But yeah, I mean, family is important. You know, it's interesting because on the way here, my wife and I were talking about our own family. Now that we have two girls, you know, what are the things that we want to instill in them? Right. You know, what are the small things that we need to do as parents to ensure that they inherit, right? And that can be small details from, you know, the way they take care of small items around the house, to the way that they even think about, you know, dressing or, you know, doing their hair or things of that nature. You know, these small details that mold this person alongside, you know, what's important to us, like what are our values, and if we don't have certain values or didn't have them in the past, what do we cultivate right now that we want our daughters to eventually have? Right. So, you know, like anything in life, family is key, right? Correct. And we have so many families. You got your biological family, the family that you create by bringing in another person into your circle, work family, social families. Yeah. What about school, man? How was school like for you? Like as a kid or like a young adult? You can start any way you like, dude. I was never the scholastic kid. Me too. Like I wasn't that dude, and that kind of carried into college, right? Where I never finished college. You know, I dropped out, and I just felt like I wasn't learning what I thought I should be learning, or what I thought I could actually kind of contribute in. What was it that you're studying that you dropped out of? I was actually studying media, and I wanted to be, you know, back in the days, I wanted to be a reporter. whether it was like print and write, or whether it was like in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And like that was kind of the vibe, but I didn't feel like that I was taking away too much,
Yeah.
you know. And so I decided, cheers, to just, I don't know, pursue other things. At the time, I was working in radio, and I was meeting a few people, and I met somebody that was, you know, with the NBA, because I used to go to the NBA games, and they ended up offering me a job.
Okay.
So, you know,
What's your favorite basketball team?
I don't have favorite teams, actually.
Okay.
I have players, right? And right now, I mean, the league is so thick right now with just talent, you know? I mean, all these young boys that are playing, it's so dope to see, you know?
Okay.
It's like we were talking about the other day. I don't know how we kind of got into this, but I was talking to somebody the other day that I was saying, like, I wonder if there's ever going to come a time that there's almost all super teams, you know, like, because there's just so much talent.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And like, it's no longer like dominated by one or two or three teams, but like there's just strong teams all over.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Spence.
Thank you.
So this is our coconut bread
Yeah.
with a habanero eggplant
Right.
relish.
Shall we break bread?
Let's break bread.
Let's break bread, man.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. So wait, don't stop, man. Like,
Yeah, so I don't know where we left off, but
NBA.
yeah, I just wasn't the school type.
Yep.
Fortunately, was always into having dialogues with people, talking, and you know, hospitality came in, and I started loving it. Right, the act of serving people, giving them an experience, and thankfully that was, you know, the gateway for me to then also explore my own creativity, you know, of experiences, right, trying to transport people. So I was born in Puerto Rico, and then at an early age, I moved to Florida. My mother moved first. I lived with my grandparents in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And then about after a year and a half or so,
Right.
then my mother, you know, brought me to live with her in Florida.
That's cool. So, like, would I be correct to say again that one of your hobbies growing up was baseball?
100%.
Do you have any other interesting hobbies?
Today, you know, I love
Not
art.
today. I know. Yeah, back then. Yeah. We're trying to like, you know, like
I
find
used to
out like
explore you know, life with pyrotechnics. I used to like lighting shit on fire all the time. Yeah. That's
I think
not
we
a
all
hobby
went through
though.
that phase. Yeah.
But yeah, baseball, boxing. I love makeup, so I was really into. There was a phase in my life that I was into like doing like horror film like makeup.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I was, you know, that was kind of a phase that I
Like
went
prop
through.
stuff.
Not prop stuff, like actual.
Oh shit.
Yeah, what do
You can do
call it?
makeup.
No, I can't. This was young. You know, back in the days, making clothes, making t-shirts.
You
know?
made clothes as well.
Made t-shirts.
Okay.
Yeah. I would, you know, there was a time where when the weekends came, I was always excited about, you know, I see the homies here making their own joints. It's like, you know, the weekend comes, you had something fresh, but you made it yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then you'd go out wherever, whatever party or whatever, and, you know, you'd have something that was one off. Right.
That's sick, man.
So enjoy doing that. Even now, when I see the drop culture of like people just doing kind of shirts and all this, it's like,
It reminds you.
wow.
Yeah. Was there any art or creative influence while growing up? Because I see you as a person like who has a great appreciation for like art, or you know.
There was two things that opened up my mind.
Yeah.
One of them was living in Florida, in Orlando, going to Disney.
Yeah.
And having that access to Disney and kind of this like as a young kid, and then as like a teenager, you start to look at things very differently.
Yeah.
Like how things are presented. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I'd have to get deeper into that. So that's one. But then I had a good friend of mine who I always credit for like opening, you know, unlocking kind of my creative mind.
Yeah.
Right. And his name was Jonathan Oclorino, Filipino cat, who was one of my best friends growing up in Orlando. And the way that he thought was so different and so ahead of its time.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
He just looked at everything like, he looked at everything as an invention, right? Or like, how could I actually make this better? How could I make it functional? How could I, if I look at this moment, what other things could I do with this item that will make it kind of multi-functional or multifaceted, right? And how can I build upon that or evolve that item, right? And so, he did that with clothing. He did that with musical stuff, instruments. He did that with furniture.
Right. And he's your best friend.
He was. I mean, we still talk to this day. We still hang out whenever I'm back home. But, you lose touch, right? Like it's been 15, 16 years since I've been gone.
Yeah.
So
is he still doing art?
No, he was never an artist. He was just a creative.
Oh shit!
Right, and he worked in hospitality. Now I'm not sure exactly what he's doing.
Okay.
But the way that he thought, it just pushed my mind to kind of think of things in a different way, and that led into thinking about like how do you, evolve the way people live, neighborhoods, communities, the way that people interact with certain things, right? And so I always credit him for that because I don't think if I wouldn't have met him. I grew up in a family that was very kind of conventional and traditional, right? It's like you go to school, my mom's an accountant, my aunt's a lawyer, my other aunt's, radiologist, my other aunt's like in service, college, right? Yeah. And so it's like, that's kind of the path, right? But this dude helped me kind of unlock something within my own mind that then allowed me to just kind of keep pursuing
that.
Man, dude. Like I see shit today, right? Like, man, I'll watch like Shark Tank or I'll watch, some shit. And I'm like, damn, we were thinking about that shit fucking 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, right? Like we were teenagers and early 20s.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, that's crazy, right? And there's never like a great or grand idea. I mean, those come few and far in between, right?
For sure.
I've always said, and I believe, like, if you get an idea, if I get an idea, there's probably another 100,000 people in the world that are getting the same fucking idea at the same time, right? It's just about who capitalizes on it first, or who actually acts or I shouldn't say capitalize, but like manifest it first, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, when you first came to Singapore, what's your take on the current scene of F&B or hospitality when you first came here? And how did you view it through these lenses that you have, man?
I didn't. Like, when I came, I wasn't looking at Singapore.
This was which year, was it?
2006.
Okay.
I wasn't looking at it through, like, the F&B scene because I didn't know anything about Singapore.
Okay.
When I first came to Singapore, I just fell in love with it because it was so green and it was so dope. Like, people talk about, like, that ride from the East Coast, from the airport, all the way through, like, the ECP where like the trees are, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when I first came and I was like, what? This is a dope country. Like, this is beautiful. Like when Sentosa, when there was hardly anything on it, right? When there wasn't an Ion and there wasn't a Wisma Atria, there wasn't any of that, right? Up to like Takashimaya, there was just like this park there, this field. So like, it was, it was very different back then. But I think I fell in love with how green it was. I mean, today the country still continues to stay green, right?
Yeah.
And in the planning, they're very conscious of that, right?
Yeah.
And they're very intentional when it comes to that. But that's what I fell in love with first and foremost. And I felt intuitively, I was like, man, I feel like this country's gonna turn a corner, like in a way, and it turned a hell of a corner, right?
Yeah, man.
And it's continued to turn corners,
always,
right?
We don't stop, man.
Yeah. So, we were just lucky we came, and what I wanted to do is the first restaurant I ever opened was a Vietnamese restaurant.
Okay, let's talk about that.
I wanted to do like
what was it, man? What was it called?
It was called very innovative name called Banh Mi.
It was called Banh Mi.
Banh Mi.
All right. That was your first gig. Okay. Was Sharon involved already?
Of course.
Shit.
The reason I moved to Singapore, it wasn't necessarily for Sharon, but we were friends, and we decided, okay, let's move to Singapore because she had family here. Her parents had moved back, and so I would have never had any introduction to Singapore if it wasn't for Sharon.
Shout out to Sharon. You're always bigger than Javier, man. So
Secure folder.
can we talk a little bit about your love story with Sharon? How it came about, how you met this wonderful woman.
We met in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We were friends. We were in the same class. She always says that I don't remember the first moment.
Which school was this, man? Which school was this?
L'École Les Roches.
Yeah. Okay,
in Bluche, Switzerland.
All right.
Shout out to all my people in Valais. But we met there. We were in the same class. And I remember one day she was going up the funicular to get her snowboard waxed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, you snowboard? She said, yeah, I'm going to go get my snowboard waxed. And we ended up that night, I said, oh, do you want to grab dinner before we go down? And we were just cool, we were just
vibing,
friends and friendly. And then, university things, you never take things too seriously.
Yep.
But we were always in each other's company, and after we graduated, she went her way. She went to Manila, I went to Thailand, to Bangkok, but we always kept in touch. And it was like, why don't we try to do something together? And eventually we did, right? And so, she's my heart. She is my ride or die, and she is definitely way better than I am in most and if not all things, if you put us side by side.
Right. Shit. That's a cool love story. So what happened after Banh Mi, man?
Banh Mi, first restaurant.
Yeah.
26 years old. Didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to learn the ropes. Landlord comes in, tries to jack up our rent by 50%. We take a step back, and we're like, let's regroup. We regroup. We find a little house in Upper Bukit Timah, behind the fire station, and Raw Kitchen Bar was born.
Boom.
That was a collaboration with a homie of mine in Thailand who owns a restaurant called Pladid. I mean, he really gave a lot to us in terms of showing us what to do culinary wise. I mean, pretty much that first menu in Raw Kitchen Bar was proof. Teaching myself, one of my guys, Brian, and the other guys in the kitchen. And so
do you actually cook?
I used to.
Right.
I can't say that I have this like creative ability where I can just come up with recipes on the fly and kind of know what to pair up.
Yeah.
I'm a person who I'll take from the net or from books or from other chefs, things that they share, and then I'll try to maybe make it my own.
Yeah.
But as far as like cooking, if I want to like sit at home and, like this morning, right, I was prepping for Christmas dinner tomorrow, like brining some chickens and making a potato gratin and, doing kind of simple, traditional stuff. I enjoy cooking. I don't get to do it as much as I should.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can cook,
Sweet.
I wouldn't say that I can create off the cuff though.
Mm-hmm.
Like your man Jerome, right? I'm sure like he can just whip up things. And
Okay, so that was Raw
serious.
back in the days, right? And
Yeah.
I think you guys made so much of an impression in the scene, man.
Raw was dope, man, because Raw just gave us.
I didn't get a chance to visit, so it was kind of sad.
It was chill, man, because it gave us a chance to like express ourselves, and that's where I started bringing art in, culture in. We had cats like Bani Haikal playing back in those days, like Mux. I don't know if you ever heard of those cats. We had my man like Lip, an artist, kind of doing some graffiti shit.
So like the old space at Raw, you guys had live music.
Some days. I mean, not every weekend.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, on special events, we'd have DJs mostly on like maybe every other weekend.
Right.
But I felt like it was a little bit ahead of its time,
Yeah.
where we were doing stuff that
You were
nobody
always
was
doing things ahead of the time, dude.
Thank you.
Right. So Next up, it was Kilo. I want to ask, what was the name about? What was the meaning behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kilo, when we first came to this building, I didn't want to name it.
Yeah.
You know, after Raw Kitchen, I was like, I want to have a restaurant that like has no name. So when people come to it, they're like, oh shit, you know that building, that like industrial building, that there's a restaurant there. And I wanted people to speak about the restaurant like that. Sharon being very practical, she was like, how are you going to answer the phone? Right?
Yeah,
Like, what are you going to say? So Kilo comes also from my stepfather. My stepfather was a boat builder. And
It's a boat builder.
yeah. And so we used to be at sea a lot, like whether it was skiing, whether it was fishing. And so I started thinking about colors and the whole process to think about the name Kilo. I started with like hieroglyphics, like looking at signs, like what is, like if I just see something, like kind of like prints, and what does it mean, right? So that got me looking at colors. And then that got me thinking about like nautical flags. So nautical flags, very beautiful, very geometric, right? And so one day I just went into the nautical flag kind of, you know, index or dictionary. And all I looked for is what does each flag mean?
Yeah.
I didn't even look at the name. And then there was one flag that said, we wish to communicate with you, or I wish to communicate with you. So when you hoist it up at sea, what you're telling that vessel across is like, I wish to communicate with you. And I was like, that's it, right? Like, that's what we want to do. We want to communicate with people through food, of course, but also through, you know, the interaction and the service that you're receiving, through the music, through, you know, the art that you're seeing on the wall, you know, all of these kind of things we want to communicate with you. And that's still a true mantra in everything that we try to do, I try to do, you know, regardless of Kilo aside, right? It's just, it's a way of life, I feel, for me.
I gotta ask, what was Kilo set out to do, man? Like, you have the Kilo Kitchen, you had Kilo Impact back in the days, Kilo Camp, and everybody knows Kilo Lounge.
Yeah.
Whatever you contributed to like the music scene, man.
In large part, you know, that was actually my partner at the time, Josh, you know, who really, that was his background with music. You know, that was people like QH, you know, and I think between both of them, they had this vision for, you know, what this place would be or could be in that type of, you know, scene, right, with music. You know, there's a lot of people that I knew, but there was also a lot of acts and people that I didn't know, right, and the majority of them. So when it came to that part of Kilo, a lot of the credit has to go to them, right, and what they did. For me, it was, what I set out to do is I wanted to influence culture, right, and we wanted to kind of push things within our city, you know, and in Singapore, and we did, you know, you know, we probably, you know, wasn't the best business, but it was fun, right, and it was something that that really touched or impacted a lot of people. But that's what it was. I mean, you know, Kilo is like, you know, I remember that we had this thing, and we were talking about, we want it to be a way of life, right, for people. So today, even with grain traders, right, we have 6 pillars of culture. Right, the 6 pillars of culture are food, of course, art, music, design, architecture, and literature. Now we have to push ourselves to think like, those 6 things, how do you actually incorporate or embed those 6 things or inject somewhat of those 6 things in your experience as a restaurant, right? So even when you're looking at Two Men Bagel House, or even when you're looking at, you know, you said you interviewed the boys from like Wine River or whoever it is, right? Like when I look at a space now, it's about how do we actually make sure that those 6 things are hit? You know, how do we make sure that we touch those 6? When people come in, you know, to the restaurant, right? Of course, the first thing is always going to be the food, but you know, you want people to walk away. You know, how do you feed people beyond food, beyond the plate? How do you feed them? Right. So we're always on our phones. We're always kind of, you know, taking in information, right? Or digesting information. And so, you know, you want that when people are in your place or they leave your place, that they're like, oh shit, like, what was that song? Or, man, I love that art. Like, who did that? Or it's adding something and it's feeding them, right? And so, cool. that's the thought today. You know, what are the touch points that we have in place to feed you?
And what's the tagline of Grain Traders again?
Right now, it's culture you can taste.
Okay. It used to be like feeding people right.
Feeding people right was what we started with. But today,
I like the tagline.
Thank you. Today, it's culture you can taste. What's the tagline for Two Men Bagel?
We don't have one, dude.
Is that it?
Made the hard way. Made the hard way.
Made the hard way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for everybody who actually was a part of it and still is a part of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, Kilo continues to grow and thrive, whether it's in Bali or in Jakarta, you know, here in Duxton.
Yeah.
You know, I know that there's always been talks about, you know, bringing the lounge back.
Yeah.
Who knows when that'll be, right? Given the current climate.
Yeah.
And the club business isn't an easy business, you know, let alone anywhere in the world, but let alone Singapore, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's see what happens. You know,
Right
now we continue to evolve. We continue to evolve with, you know, Raw Kitchen.
Yeah.
And let's see what's next.
Okay.
You know.
So next question. Presently a family man, a businessman, how do you juggle life? What do you do to like relax and unwind, man?
You know, enjoy time with people.
Because I know like you told me before you meditate, right?
I do.
Okay, let's talk
try.
about that, man. Yeah, let's talk about that.
I love meditation.
Yeah.
I think like the importance of going within is crucial. And I wish I would have learned it earlier, like in my 30s. You know, I think I started late in the game with this meditation thing.
Yeah.
But it's never too late, right?
Yeah.
But I love it. I love going within. You know, it takes me to a whole nother place. Even, you know, homies like Derek upstairs who are doing Palm Avenue.
Yeah.
You know, Float Club. You know, I try to go there often. If I could have a flotation pod in my house, I would have 100%. You know, but meditation. You know, now trying to explore another artistic side of myself. You know, I tried painting. I'm horrible at it. I don't have the patience. I don't necessarily. I think I overthink it.
Yeah.
And so now trying to maybe explore a little bit of sculpture, you know, making or welding, but very early days. You know, I showed you a picture earlier.
Yeah,
so.
dude. Man. Grain Traders, congrats opening up GTLA.
GT.
Let's talk about the place, man. Like, what's
It's a beautiful space.
Right. Where it at? And
so it's on Fairfax Avenue. You know, we have a dope address right on Fairfax and Santa Monica Boulevard. We found this beautiful place, which was an old garage. They used to do like oil changes and tire changes.
Yeah.
And converted the space. The space looks beautiful. You know,
we're gonna drop some images of that.
Nice. Yeah, my partners, you know, Sonny and Dennis, you know, they just believed from day one in what Grain Traders was and what it is. You know, Chef Gisela, you know, is out there doing her thing.
Gisela. Yeah.
She's out there doing her thing, and you know, she's been strong, you know, getting through this whole COVID thing, and still fighting through it. But we've opened in a market that has been hit hard. Yeah. You know, it's been hit by this pandemic. It's been, you know, it's also a saturated market. Yeah. People are doing things there on a really good, you know, level. And
for sure, man.
And so there's a lot of players. But we're just trying to come in and serve honest food, good food, and, you know, bring a little bit of what we know from over here. Gisela being Latin, knowing what she knows from all the places around the world that she's, been in, bringing in some Southeast Asian kind of flair. At the same time, using this beautiful product and produce that they have in California and LA. And so, same thing, 6 pillars. You know, there we want to push it. 6 pillars are food, art, design and architecture, fashion, literature, and music. So if you look at the new Grain Traders logo,
you got a tattoo of it.
There's 6 ends to it, and that's
the reason.
That means the 6 pillars, and it's a flame, so keep them burning, you know.
All right. So sentiments, man. What's RKB? What do you want people to know about it?
RKB is just returning to I could say basics, but it's really just us learning again, at least on a personal note, why I started what I started. I think that we've had all of these great things happen, but at the same time, I wonder, I'm actually exploring within myself, did I lose myself a bit? And I think I did. I went through a point over the last 3 years where my mental health wasn't there, and I went through, some depression and I was battling some demons, and things that were also self-inflicted. But RKB is this new kind of start, right? And it's kind of a restart. Yeah. So it is a right? Like, I felt like this year that RE or that was talking to me a lot about, anything that started with so restart, reset,
reborn,
and so, Raw Kitchen is coming back, looking at things in a simple way, but trying to create modern classics when it comes to food, and still staying with the same thing. I'm never going to change up the recipe or the blueprint, which has been, how do we give people more than just food? How do we fulfill them with more than just food? But we fill them with moments, with experience, with actual things that they see, and so I hope that, once COVID kind of subsides a bit, that we can bring back things like, whether it's shows, whether it's talks here,
I'm psyched, man.
Whether it's like some spoken word thing, and so, even from, seeing sculptures, this is a sculptor from Singapore.
Yeah.
You got an artist there from Singapore. You have a Belgian artist in the back that did the container. And so, Raw Kitchen is now this haven or this oasis, right? And hopefully it keeps growing in. When we were thinking about it, I was thinking about two things. How do we create a really dope patio? And two, I wanted to make it feel like a nursery, right? So like hella pots, hella plants, and even what you see today, I want to add on to that, right? And so it's a work in progress. I mean, I don't think that we should have all the answers right now, and it shouldn't be a finished product today, just like what you boys are doing. Like, it continues to evolve and grow.
This is a journey,
right? And so RKB has brought me so much joy. All the things that God has allowed me to do have brought me so much joy. But this moment of, thinking about what it is that we do, why we do it, how do we do it, what are the things that I've learned over the course of the last 10 years, and what are the things that I'm not doing? What are the things that I'm not good at anymore? What are the things that I need to be realistic with myself and start to learn, and what are the things that I need to be disciplined about? Because what I have learned as well is that I lack discipline in some things, and I need to set that straight. And so, hopefully this will be a start to that. So feeling good, people are coming, people are having fun. I love that. I love when people are vibing. The only thing with Raw Kitchen here, which was the same thing with camp, when it rains, it's dead. But hopefully we have more sunny and chill nights like today than not. But we're really happy. Sharon and I are really happy, and I believe the team is very happy, and I believe that our guests so far, 5 weeks in, they're enjoying the space. How do you feel? I mean, you've been here a couple times.
Yo, guys, shout out to Raw Kitchen Bar again, RKB. If you guys haven't been here, food's great, ambience great, and this guy preaches what he just mentioned, man. Like, you come here and like you get like fucking transported like to another place, man. It's like fucking oasis, and I respect you for whatever's happening right here, and it's gonna bring more friends here, man. Look, so bring your friends.
Bring a friend.
Don't be a hater.
Come for an hour.
Yeah,
Stay
come for
3.
an hour. Meet this guy. Say hi. He's gonna drop you some wisdom here.
Bring some Mozzie spray, just in case.
Just in case, you got to remember the Mozzie sprays. Yo, when the travel ban lifts, what's the first place you have in mind to visit and why?
when the travel ban lifts.
Yeah. It's like when there's no more COVID, dude.
I need to go see my grandparents.
Where they at?
They're in Florida now.
Okay.
But my grandmother's 91, my grandfather's 94, and I've been dying to see them. My grandmother is one of the most important people in my life, and I'm grateful and I thank God that she's still around.
Yeah.
You know, part of her mind is not around, but
Yeah.
she's still around. And so I want to take my second daughter to meet her. You know, but that's very kind of sentimental and, you know, family.
Yeah.
You know, aside from that, I would love to take Sharon skiing and snowboarding.
So yeah, man, like I'm really thankful for today's conversation, and you know, like
I'm thankful for you, man. I'm thankful for, you know, the things that you guys are doing, your whole crew. I mean, even your whole outfit over here, your whole posse back here. I mean, everybody's, you know, doing their thing and kind of pushing culture forward and really just scratching at it, right? So that's a beautiful thing to see. You know, the fact that you're actually now moving from food
I'm trying
content to all of these other things. That's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So just keep pushing that forward.
I will do, man. Any last words before I wrap this up and close it for you? Like for budding entrepreneurs or anybody out there who's looking to come into F&B or hospitality, man.
Yeah, just don't be your worst, you know, your yourself's worst enemy. You know, take your time. Know that unfortunately there's going to come a point that you don't have all the answers, but work through that. Be resilient, be dedicated, and just be honest with yourself. You know what you're good at, know where your lane's at, and then find great people that can support you and support the vision, and that also that you support. You know, that's what I'm learning even today. You know, I'm learning where I can get better and where I can improve, not only as an entrepreneur, but as a leader, as a friend.
Culturepreneur, man.
Yeah, culturepreneur. And so just know that it's a process, and be honest and be soft on yourself, but at the same time, you know, take life hard and make some serious steps. So yeah.
You guys got that? This don't come by easy, man.
Salud.
You don't learn this in school, okay? So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up with a final cheers.
Salud.
Salud. Guys, thank you for tuning in again for another episode of Borne and Bread. I hope you learned something from this episode. Peace.
Feliz Navidad.
See ya.